Hello, and welcome to this presentation on understanding the new $1,700 federal tax credit for donations to K-12 school scholarships, a part of President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, and why churches should consider utilizing this powerful tool. In this video, we will cover the mechanics of the federal tax credit, scholarship granting organizations and student eligibility, private school requirements for SGO scholarships, and setting up an SGO and/or a church school. The idea with this legislation is to increase competition within the K-12 schooling system. So good schools attract more students and get more money. Bad schools lose students and lose money. Also, it gives parents a choice as to where they choose to send their kid to be educated. The political map for implementation of this tax credit in the state of Michigan as of July 2025 is that the governor of the state must first opt in before residents can take advantage of this credit. If the governor opts in to this credit, SGOs will be able to apply to be on the state-approved list of approved SGOs for this specific tax credit. At that point, any SGO that makes the list may begin to receive $1,700 reimbursable tax credit donations. Why is this a big deal? This is a big deal because it has the potential to revolutionize the K-12 education system in America, leading to many more and greatly expanded church and religious schools. Mechanics of the $1,700 tax credit. Here's an overview of how the tax credit works. Starting in the top left-hand corner, donors give donations to SGOs or scholarship granting organizations, which then gives scholarships to students who then use that scholarship money to attend school via qualified expenses. The donor is then reimbursed the same amount of money that they donated to the SGO, up to $1,700, from the government via their taxes. Let's look at an example. Starting in the top left-hand corner, church members donate $1,700 each to the church SGO. The church SGO then gives K-12 scholarships to the church kids. The SGO can keep 10% for administration costs. The church SGO then gives 90% of the donations they receive to K-12 scholarships for church kids. The church kids then spend that scholarship money at the church school for charges such as tuition and qualified fees. The government then reimburses the church members who donated $1,700 each via their taxes. Let's get a little more specific about how the tax credit works. This tax credit is a $1,700 non-refundable tax credit for donations to scholarship granting organizations. This 100% non-refundable tax credit results in a reduction in one's tax liability. The benefits of contributing to SGOs via this tax credit are: you can either pay the government $1,700 or you can give $1,700 to an SGO of your choice, which will then use that money to give scholarships for children to attend school. This tax credit is non-refundable, which means that your tax liability cannot go below $0 total for a year if you choose to use this tax credit. And all taxpayers are eligible to claim this credit. Eligibility criteria for donors. Anyone can claim the $1,700 100% non-refundable tax credit. Residency requirements. Money must stay within state lines. For example, donors who live in Michigan must donate to an SGO in Michigan who gives scholarships to students who live in Michigan and attend K-12 school in Michigan. The $1,700 tax credit is most likely going to be one credit per tax receipt. So a couple filing jointly will be able to claim $1,700, while a couple filing separately will be able to claim 2 times $1,700. Let's look at an example. John and Jane Smith donate $1,700 to Community Church SGO on December 31st, 2027. John and Jane Smith claimed the $1,700 tax credit when filing their taxes in 2028. As a result of the tax credit, John and Jane Smith get a bigger refund check when they file their taxes in 2028. Scholarship granting organizations and student eligibility. A scholarship granting organization is a 501c3 registered with the state in which it operates. These scholarship granting organizations collect donations and give scholarships to eligible students for eligible education expenses. Who can start an SGO to receive those $1,700 donations? Churches, private schools, public schools, football programs, 4-H clubs, Rotary clubs, running clubs, and pretty much any other organization that wishes to start an SGO can start one. What can these scholarships be used for? This is a big question. The law states a class of education savings accounts known as Coverdell accounts. If you're interested in finding out more specifics, please look that up. In general, these funds can be used for tuition, fees, academic tutoring, special needs. They can also be used for room and board and transportation, so busing, and technology, computer equipment, etc. I thought it was funny that they had to include down here in the law that you can't put your Xbox Live subscription on scholarship money. That's pretty classic. Types of scholarships that can be offered by SGOs. SGOs can offer need-based scholarships, merit-based scholarships, belonging-based scholarships, and scholarships that combine different aspects of all three categories. In order to qualify for a scholarship from one of these SGOs, a student must be a member of a household with an income for the calendar year prior to the date of application for the scholarship that is not greater than 300% of the area median gross income for the area in which they live. They must also be eligible to enroll in public elementary or secondary school. For instance, the Michigan median household income as of 2023 was $71,149. So 3 times that would have ended up being $213,447. Private school requirements for SGO scholarships. Private schools who receive money from these SGO scholarships must be accredited. It's a Michigan law, may be different in other states. Why should churches start an SGO and/or a church school? Number 1, mission. Kids who attend a church and attend a church school are much more likely to keep going to church as adults than kids who go to church but attend public school. Resources. SGO donation tax credits can be a significant source of resources for churches. Faith-based education, pros and cons. Pros, kids get to grow up in a church environment. Kids are more likely to stay in church when they're older. Hopefully they'll receive a better education. Church schools can entice people to come to your church. And in the case of these tax credits, you get free money from the government and get to bring more revenue to your church. Cons, lots of setup. Possible debt trap. This would be where if your church borrows a lot of money to build a new school building especially. You can have small class sizes and inconsistent class sizes. Also, additional facilities are necessary if a church wants to build a school. Let's take a look at an example to see just how powerful this SGO and church school system can be. Take the example of a 1,000 family church. If a 1,000 family church can get 500 people to sign up to give $1,700 donations, which are 100% reimbursable, so $0 out of pocket, that adds up to approximately $32 a week per family. When you add all that up, That's $850,000 per year, again with $0 out of pocket. $850,000 a year is enough money to give $107,650 scholarships to K-12 kids, which is often enough to cover 100% the cost of tuition plus some. And also the church gets to keep their 10% for admin costs, so that adds up to $85,000 in administration revenue for the church. And this repeats every single year. That's a very powerful financial incentive. How to set up an SGO. SGOs are 501c3s, so the normal process will need to be followed when setting them up. We need to follow the guidelines for getting approved. SGOs that plan on receiving these $1,700 donations that are tax reimbursable need to make it onto the state approved list. There will be, if Michigan opts in, a list that the state government gives to the federal government by January 1st of every year. And if your name of your SGO is not on that list, you won't be able to receive those donations and give the person a receipt that will allow them to claim the tax credit. Once you have all the back end set up, you'll need to solicit donations. Church members are a good source of people to target for this. Another thing to remember is there'll be no commingling of funds. What that means is that the SGO that is set up to take these $1,700 donations can only take these $1,700 donations. You cannot commingle them with other donations. You'll need to be able to issue receipts to donors so that they can give the receipt to their tax preparer so that they can claim their tax credit, tax time. You'll need to ask for scholarship applications. It's great to collect all this money, but you have to have some students to give it to, so you'll have to figure out where to get the students to apply for your scholarships. You'll need to check the student eligibility. This is another big part of these SGOs. So because of the 300% of average area income limit, all students who receive scholarships from these SGOs must have their family's income verified so to make sure that they qualify. And then you'll also have to set up guidelines for which students get how much money in scholarships. There's a whole process with this. You could go with the simple process of everyone gets equal, or you could go on some sort of income prorated process because you will have the income of all the families. And then you award the scholarships to your students and they get out there and hopefully have a great life. How to set up a church school. Number one is seek professional help. Schools are very complex organizations, buildings, traditions. They're very, very complex to do. Please seek professional help. But basically, you need to find facilities. Finding facilities can be easy if you're able to lease space somewhere that's suitable for a school, or it can be hard if you have to build from scratch. You have to hire competent staff and listen to them. This is going to be easier now with the SGO's money because typically private school teachers were paid less than their public school counterparts, but that probably won't have to be the case anymore. You need to find students for your school. Obviously, the first place to start is the students of the families who go to your church, but you can certainly branch out from there. Pray a lot. This is a big one. Trying to get all of this set up and around and new school, it's like moving, and prayer is going to help a lot in figuring out this whole process. Keep in mind that there may be possible cooperation opportunities with your public school system, especially in the area of leasing facilities and joining joint sports programs and extracurricular programs. Now for the big decision. Does your church set up just an SGO, or do they go with a school and an SGO? Let's look at some of the different factors that can play in here. The benefits of doing an SGO only are it's simple. SGO, if you have one person in charge of it at your church, they'll be able to assemble all the materials, do the income verifying, all the different steps that have to be done to maintain compliance, and then they can be in charge of issuing scholarships, and you're out the door. No kids throwing up in the bathroom, no all the other headaches that come along with this school. Also, it's flexible for students, so you may have students who go to your church who want to go to a different school that already exists. So why build one yourself? Cooperation with other churches, busing. So because you can spend the scholarship money on busing, you could potentially charge kids from your school for busing to bus them to another private school. Economies of scale. So with the SGO only, you don't have to worry about being a small school because you're just giving scholarships and there's really no economies of scale there. It's also flexible, like we talked about above. The cons of it are you have less control over your student environment. So if you're sending kids at your church to a different church school, they set the curriculum, they set the rules. And also 90% of the money that the church members are donating goes outside of the church. Because remember, you still get to keep 10% for admin, even if you only have an SGO. What about an SGO and a school? Well, the pros are you have control of the student environment, which is a big deal. Also, money stays within the church. There are different formats for these schools. There are K-4 schools, K-8 schools, and even K-12 schools. Also, kids from other churches can come to your school. Cons of opening a school. Schools are complex and expensive. Buildings, they're very, very complex and expensive. Also, once you've invested in building a school, you've got less flexibility for your students who go to your church because you kind of expect them to go to your school. You also have no economies of scale. So whatever you're doing at your school, that's what you got. You don't have nearly as much flexibility on that stuff as you do with just an SGO. Also, cooperation can be limited because if you're building a new school, that can be seen as competition by other private schools or even the public school system. Conclusion. This is a great opportunity for kids and churches with lots of room for growth and can also be financially rewarding. I hope that you will take a serious look at taking advantage of this federal tax credit to help forward the mission of God on earth. Thank you. Have a blessed day.